Olá pessoal, tudo bem com vocês? E hoje a gente vai ler juntos o capítulo 9 do livro The Star Shepherd, que é o livro que a gente está fazendo a leitura junto aqui em inglês no canal, nessa playlist que é a playlist Lendo em Inglês, ok? O objetivo dessa playlist é ajudar quem tá aí aprendendo inglês a melhorar a leitura, né? Então, esse é um livro aqui que ele é infanto-juvenil, né? Ele é para crianças a partir de 8 anos, então se você já estiver no intermediário, vai te ajudar sim. Você pode adquirir esse livro, o link para compra tá aqui na descrição do livro, aqui embaixo, né? Na descrição do livro, você pode tanto adquirir o e-book, que é mais barato, ou o livro físico, lembrando que esse livro é um livro internacional, então comprar o livro físico é bem carinho sim, mas se você quiser fazer a leitura aí para treinar inglês comigo, estamos agora no capítulo 9. Se você é novo aqui, sugiro que você vá lá no comecinho da playlist, né? Que você vá no capítulo 1 para você pegar a história toda, porque começar aqui do capítulo 9 você vai ficar sem entender o que está acontecendo na história. Então, vamos lá. Na semana passada, a gente parou no capítulo 8. A Andra, que é a amiga do Cairo, foi lá visitar ele à noite porque ela ficou sabendo que o pai do Cairo tá meio que sumido, né? Então, ela foi lá visitar o amigo dele e o Cairo, eu acho que, né, no final do capítulo 8, deu a entender que ele vai explicar para Andra sobre as estrelas, como que as estrelas surgiram e tudo mais. Então, é mais ou menos isso que eu imagino que vai acontecer no capítulo 9. Os dois estão lá na Watchtower, que é onde o Cairo mora com o pai dele. O pai dele tá sumido. E eu acho que ele vai explicar para ela aí como, né, que as estrelas foram parar no céu, como que elas caem, por que eles têm que trocar a proteção das estrelas quando elas caem. E, na verdade, o grande mistério até agora é por que tá caindo muita estrela e todas juntas, né, que não dá nem tempo deles irem socorrer as estrelas, pegarem o coração da estrela e trocar de proteção e mandar de volta para o céu. Tem alguma coisa esquisita aí na história, né? Além do pai do Carlos sumido. E tem também os monstros, né? Que se chamam Vislas, né? Ou Visla no singular, mas apareceu já mais de uma aqui na história. Estão rondando aí e por algum motivo essas Vislas estão conseguindo encostar nas estrelas, que é coisa que antes elas não conseguiam, porque a luz das estrelas espantava esses monstros. Enfim, vamos ver aqui o que vai acontecer agora na história. Vamos lá, ó. Lembrando que eu vou sempre deixar a legenda aqui, porque caso você não consiga comprar o livro, você pode acompanhar através da legenda para ler junto comigo. Então, vamos lá. Chapter 9. Carol told Andra all about the legend of the seven elders. And that's how the stars came to rest in the sky and star shepherds came to take care of them. He finished. Andrew's expression was rapt. The seven elders put them there? But how did they do it? A catapult like you have? Or were they tall enough to reach? She grinned. No, they had a little help. The elders built huge mechanical giants who flew up and hung the stars on hooks in the sky. My father used to tell me that's what inspired him to become a clockmaker. He always wanted to build something that extraordinary one day. Carol's smile faltered. His father hadn't confided in him like that in a long time. But we don't use burlap and hooks anymore. We have new cases made from glass and steel that are sturdier and have built-in hooks. That way we can hang the stars back in the sky without the help of giants. That's incredible. And you believe it all? Carol paused. Was it wise to admit that he believed in it? When his mother used to tell him the stories at that time, he'd wanted to believe. After watching his father retrieve stars in burlap sacks and send them back to the sky night after night for the last few years, he knew at least some of it was true. And now he had encountered that frightening cold shadow creature. Any lingering doubts had disappeared. I do. The stars are just as the legends say, and someone had to put them there. And I may have seen one of the dark creatures, a Visla, recently. He twisted his fingers together in his lap. While he liked talking to Andra like this, he didn't want to scare her away. But he also didn't want to lie to her. It's all true, and if someone is stealing stars, then the dark things might come back. I'm worried that the Vizsla might be the ones taking the stars in the first place. Andra sat up straighter. You saw one of the shadow creatures? On my first solo run, the thing radiated cold and it wanted the star, but I got away. The night before my father left, I saw another one. Carol shuddered. The creature got to the star first, and I couldn't stop it. It killed the star's heart. Its deathly cold burned the life right out of the poor star. All I could do was watch. If my father had been there, he could have done something to stop it. But he wasn't. And if I'm right about the Vizsla, he's gone off on a fool's errand. Now I don't know where he is or if I can keep the star safe while he's gone. Carol's shoulders dropped under the admission he'd been holding inside all day. He'd spent so much time being angry with his father that he didn't know if he could do this without him. Carol, Andra cried, pointing at one of the telescopes. His eyes followed and saw a star flying across the eastern part of the sky. He sat bolt upright. Then he grabbed his star-glass goggles and snapped them into place. Let's go save it, he said. Andra grinned so wide it was nearly blinding. She grabbed his hand, and together they ran down the stairs and out the front door, leaving Cypher snoozing in the watchtower. Carol only paused for a moment to get his bearings once they were outside, and then they were off after the star. Do you do this every night? Andra said as they ran. You haven't seen anything yet, Carol yelled back. The pair raced through the forest, dodging trees, branches, and falling logs until the glow of the falling star grew brighter. They reached the glowing crater, nestled between two thick-trunked trees. The falling star was brilliant and beautiful, and the fact that it was still there this time filled Carol with a sudden, unexpected emotion. Hope. But he knew they had no time to waste. He scoped up the star, and together they headed back toward the watchtower, this time at a slower pace to be sure he didn't drop the star. When we get to the workshop, we'll set it in its new case, then send it back to the sky. That's the best part. Andra couldn't keep her eyes off the glowing burlap in Carol's hands. This is much more interesting than baking. Carol's laugh died in his throat. A sound like ice cracking on a pond echoed through the trees, and the night surrounding them grew several shades darker. Hurry, he whispered to Andra. What is it? She said. The Vizsla, Carol said, his face pale. He clutched the star close to his chest, not wanting to risk a Vizsla taking this star too. We must be quick and quiet. Andra fell into step right behind Carol. The crackling sound grew louder, and the air around them dropped several degrees, but Carol didn't stop moving. All he could think about was the sad little star the Vizsla had turned to dust. He wasn't going to let that happen again. Not on his watch. Carol peered into the forest, many yards away. Something dark and cold was moving. His breath stuttered. He grabbed Andra's hand, still clutching the star in the other, and sprinted toward the watchtower. Hopefully, the stardust slowed the Vizsla. He had no idea what else to do if it didn't work. They fled to the woods and charged toward the workshop door. He glanced back to see the shadow creature leave the woods. its terrible crackling ice forming a path beneath it. Then back after a few feet. It moved to the side, but again stopped. Then the other side, with no look. A terrible keening rose up, and the layer of ice stopped in a half circle at the edge of the yard, as if blocked by an invisible dome. Carol gaped as he realized the stardust wasn't just slowing the Vizsla, it was blocking its path forward. Sudden warmth filled him from head to toe. His father really had been trying to protect him. For now, home was safe. He flew back into motion, flinging the door open and locking it the moment Andrew stepped inside. Breathless, he rested the star on the work table. What do we do now? Will it follow us? Why did it stop? Andrew asked. Her hands shook, and she tucked them into her pockets. Carol gasped for breath and leaned on the table. My father gave me stardust before he left, and I put it out as a ward around the yard. I wasn't even sure it would work, but that's why it can't follow us any further. I think we're safe. He picked up the knife that lay on the table beside the star. Now we have to transplant this into its new home. How can I help? Andrew asked. See that pile over there? Carol pointed to the sack of metal and glass star casings Tyrion had specially constructed by Doman, Dren's blacksmith. Grab 2 of them. Andrew did as she was told, and carefully set them on the table side the burlap sack. Then Carol sliced open the casing and gently lifted the orb out. The star glowed in his cupped hands, its molten light swirling and fading every second. This one had a bluish hue with hints of red speckled throughout. Andrew tentatively set her hand on the top of the star. It's beautiful, she said. What a wonderful thing you do, saving them every night. Carol's face flushed. We must hurry, it's fading already. He pushed the burlap aside and gently placed the star inside its new home. It glimmered once, as if in thanks, before Carol closed the case. Andrew took his hand and squeezed it. The awe on her face made Carol's heart skip a bit. Star shepherding really could be wonderful. Oh, God, esses dois vão se apaixonar. Quer dizer, o Carol já é apaixonadinho na Andrew, né? Agora só falta ela corresponder. Mas, enfim, esse aqui é o final do capítulo 9. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Eles conseguiram resgatar aí juntos uma estrela, né? Apesar da Vizsla estar aí correndo atrás deles, eles conseguiram se salvar e salvar a estrela a tempo, né? Antes de serem pegos aí pela Vizsla, pelo monstro. E vamos ver, né? Semana que vem, o que vai acontecer aí no capítulo 10. Espero que vocês estejam gostando da história. É uma história bem fofinha, né? Sobre pessoas, né, que protegem as estrelas que caem, as estrelas cadentes. Então é isso aí, pessoal. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Se vocês gostaram, clique em gostei, que isso me ajuda bastante. Se inscrevam no canal. Se você já é inscrito, ativa o sininho para você receber notificação todas as vezes que eu postar um vídeo novo. Se você quiser ajudar o canal, a melhor forma de ajudar o canal é enviando os vídeos que você gosta aqui do canal para outras pessoas, divulgando o canal, mandando, né, o link do canal ou link de vídeos específicos para as pessoas que vocês conhecem, que possam gostar, né, do vídeo também. Isso me ajuda muito na divulgação do canal, isso me ajuda aqui a crescer e a aumentar as visualizações. Então, agradeço se você puder aí mandar o link dos vídeos que você gosta para pessoas que você goste também. E a gente vai continuar se falando nos próximos vídeos. Tchau!